Mike, it's one
Check
for
this
this.
guy. Okay, hold on. All right, I will call the meeting of the inspectors of the Carbon County Jail to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, these proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten following approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings. Do we have any guests present? All right, there being none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes for the meeting held, the regular meeting held January 17th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by the sheriff, second by Commissioner Warner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't believe we had any executive sessions between now and last meeting. Reports of committees, maintenance report.
Sykes Brothers was in for their monthly service, Train was in to repair 2 rooftop units, Sills was in to work on a dryer, we had Allstate in again to pump out the grinder pit and clean out the pumps. K&D was in for an issue with the walk-in freezer, they had to order parts. John's Control was in and fixed the heat detector. I had Lyndon Martin come up, he looked at the grinder, he recommends replacing the grinder cutter assembly, which there was his quote and the quote from JWC Environmental, who that's the manufacturer of the current grinder that we have. Train was in for an issue with the gym rooftop unit. K&D came back and actually worked on the freezer. I submitted the dweller report to DEP. We're waiting for John's Control still more with the camera system. One of their higher up sales reps called me because I guess he got wind of it and he asked me what was going on. He said he'd take a look into it. He hadn't gotten back to me, but I had called up and put a new ticket in for some of the issues that we've had that haven't been rectified. Because they said when I called that there were no open tickets. And I asked why there weren't open tickets if it wasn't completed, but, so they're gonna try to schedule someone else to come out. And I know I had mentioned, we could definitely use something to help sometimes when we're plowing, because sometimes trying to maintain everything at one time till we go up and down the hill over to around the comm center to the parking lot, the dog shelter, and do it again. We've had cars sliding off the road coming in and out, so we're just trying to figure, I mean, I know it's more than likely a budgeting item, so, but I just wanna make people aware. And that's pretty much it. Any questions on like the parts and stuff?
Is the grinder pump like at its last leg or?
Well, the grinder wheel that grinds up all the garbage and the debris that comes through the sewer is pretty much, the wheels are pretty much done. And then, so the stuff that doesn't get ground up now is clogging up the pumps that send the sewer down to Nesquehoning.
Yeah, so if
I
we
had
don't,
reached out to Nesquehoning and asked who they'd recommend, and they recommended this Lyndon Martin, who county already has an account with that company, because I know I bought motors from them already.
and if we don't do something with it, there's gonna be
If
major
it overflows,
problems.
we could get a big fine, so it's, the cost, I know it's not cheap, but the cost is a lot less than the fines would be.
Rodney, what's the difference between the two quotes that is such as?
The JWC quote is just for it's like a piece that sits under the motor, it has the grinding teeth and everything else in it. That's just for the part. But the company that builds it, they don't install or anything. So that would be getting the parts we need, and the other quote is from Martin, they would do the install.
So we're looking 12 total.
Yeah, over 12.
Alright,
Is there 2 grinder pumps or just the one?
There's 2 pumps, but this is for the grinder itself. The grinder comes before the pumps. The pumps pump
Yeah.
it
Okay,
down.
So,
But like I said, the pumps keep getting clogged, so I have to keep getting Allstate to come in and they crane out the pumps and clean them out and take them apart and then put them back in.
but they're gonna have to come back to put that pump in though, so that's gonna be an additional 2,000?
No,
That's
this-
in, or is
this-
all included?
What is on here would take care of the parts that are needed for the grinder and the
Yeah.
replacing of basically half the
Yeah,
grinder.
but Martin's supposed to take it out.
Martin is, they're the ones that would lift up the old pump, the old
Yeah.
grinder, and take off the part that's no good, put the new part that's on that's good, and replace it and put it in.
Yeah,
And so that does include the reinstall then?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I see now.
Rodney, my update from Johnson Controls, I spoke to Hayden Schultz, he was gonna coordinate with you to replace the cameras.
Okay.
He also told me that they were working on how to get the software installed, because you have two separate camera systems, the old one and then the new one, and they have to figure out how to make those talk to each other. So that was an issue that he was gonna try to schedule
Okay.
with you.
'Cause
That was the last I knew.
I was under the impression we only had the newer system. I mean, some of the old cameras are still up, but they're not hooked up to the system, the way I was under the
Yeah,
impression.
it's, I was told it was a software issue that could be resolved
That's-
potentially by factory resetting all of the cameras and redoing the new software on them instead of replacing all the cameras,
Right.
which I said,
Yeah, they
it's
were-
not an option
We
really.
had gotten an email from Bob Fidium about that he thought that upgrading the Vivitech system would be better than trying to move forward and replace everything a lot
I
less.
don't know, because,
So that was the last I heard, so if you haven't heard from Hayden,
I
you
haven't
should
heard
be.
anything about that, like I said, because there's a few other issues too that we've been waiting on, and that's why I called.
Do
him
you
to
have
the
Hayden's
ticket.
number?
I do not.
but I think
I'm
you
gonna
got.
give it to you right now, so you could coordinate directly with him.
Bob, God. No, our thing with this grinder pump. Do we have to make a motion, is it all right to make a motion, because what is the limit, is it 12.6 or?
Yeah, we're
And it-
just above. the
Well,
limit
it's
for-
12.704, so what do you do, but this
You have
is,
to obtain quotes, not advertising. Advertising is.
yeah, he gotta get two other quotes, but
Yeah,
the quote, well, and it's like is there another supplier for this? Are we gonna wind up being this, one is the supplier that all three of them are gonna get, remember we had that situation before? It's like $100 over, I think, what the limit is.
But I don't think that you have to combine these two. This is not like, to obey the bidding requirements. You're only talking with quotes. And you're doing a quote for the particular item, Bob,
yeah,
and then you're doing the work as
yeah,
a
we don't have
separate
to
one.
advertise for bids, that's.
No,
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 you're under
no.
the bid. The law requires that, for violation is to avoid the bid requirements, okay?
but does that,
But you, and that's dissecting a project into little parcels to avoid the bidding requirements. But here, this is one, you're purchasing a grinder and that company doesn't do it, and you're hiring somebody else to install it. I don't think that you have to combine them to make it $12,000 to get you into where you need three bids. You need three bids when it's $10,000.
No, it's 12.6 now.
That's what I'm saying, I don't think you need three bids because you're buying.
yeah, but that's what I was asking, but the scope of work is one project.
But you're putting together a project
I know,
that
but we
doesn't-
did that with sidewalks and stuff, we couldn't do one, you know what I mean, like if you did sidewalks for 7,000 and you couldn't do the curbing for 7,000, this is almost like the thing, you need the parts and the labor to make this whole project.
See,
But you're
if
bidding-
there's
you-
another vendor out there that
Yeah.
both has the part and can do the install, they could cry foul and say, this is piecemealing.
Yeah,
So-
That's
yeah.
what I'm,
What?
I mean, I agree the work has to be done, I just wanna make sure
No, I know what you're saying.
I'm not
Well, you
opposed.
only have to get telephone
Well, you'd have to get
quotes.
two
Yeah,
more,
yeah,
you'd just have to call.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
have to document your.
Yeah, and
call.
just
Alright.
document, yeah.
So maybe that's what you do, just Ron, he called two others and see what they have to say, and you can't tell them the price or whatever.
But it's in the municipalities that I didn't count those as one continuous project, cause you were buying a part and then that company, and you could get somebody to install it.
Like Bob said, if the company does it all, then you may be,
Yeah, if there is somebody out there that does it all, cause you really can't compare both of them, they're gonna charge, if you didn't buy buy the part from them, what would their cost be to install it?
Right.
And then you're dealing with a different, you're never gonna get apples to oranges on this thing unless you.
But if they do it all and they're a lower price than this amount,
Well,
Yeah.
the,
you know what I mean, that's
if,
what,
depending on who you get besides the, like say, cause the JWC, basically, this grinder is probably, you know, yay high, comes down. We're only replacing like part of it.
yeah.
Whereas if you got a competitor, you have to replace the entire thing, and that would be more than double the cost of just for the part.
Well, even if you, as long as you call,
Yeah,
and
just,
they
Good.
can't do it, that's,
Yeah,
you just
I
have to.
just-
So we can just tell them, this is what, I'll call up, tell them, this is what we need,
yeah,
and this is
They have
what
a
we need
price
done.
for it.
Okay.
Rodney, can I just, I also, when I was looking at this, the Martin's quotes, it says, based on standard terms and conditions.
That's
We
if
don't-
there's
We
something,
don't have.
I don't know. That's,
Is it
that's
saying
like,
it's-
say, if they pull up the thing and they find other issues with it, then what would we do?
I'd still like to see their standard terms and conditions.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
'cause
mean,
they could have it that
says
we
on
gotta
there
Right.
twice.
give it
Yeah.
deposit or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and we
Yeah, I'd just
don't
like
do
to
that.
know
Not a problem.
what it is, yeah.
Alright, so we'll entertain a motion then to, subject to Rodney's, calling for the electronic bids, to recommend, purchase at the lowest bidder, to the commissioners.
I'll make that motion to proceed.
Well, just to be clear, the lowest quote.
quote.
Yeah.
Okay, you said big. I mean, I just.
You don't want to get semantics with me, but wait till I start.
You need a,
Lowest quote
Lowest quote.
for the
Is
minutes.
there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Arner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wait,
But does anybody have anyone else that does this type of work that put me in a direction to call?
I don't,
Cause like I said, I called Nescahoning.
for grinder pumps?
I
I
mean,
called,
they're
I
gonna
called
be-
the Nescahoning Borough, and, cause Allstate, the company that pumps the stuff out, they don't do it. So that's why I called Nescahoning Sewer Authority,
Well,
and that's who he recommended.
yeah, I'm sure
I mean,
that
I
all
can
the
call-
authorities have some.
There are other, like,
I
I
can
know
call a
Jim
couple
Thorpe
other
has a,
authorities and get
yeah.
information from them.
Jim Thorpe has grinder pumps in their borough, so maybe calling over there, they could advise somebody else too.
Yeah, 'cause they might do their stuff
They might have the same,
in-house.
right, and it may be the same company.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Colorado, not only Jim Thorpe, the others might have different
Yeah,
vendors.
Maybe Lee
I can
Hyten.
call,
Need two
almost
more
down,
numbers,
'cause
that's all.
I know Skip, so.
As far as what Rodney brought up about the salting and that, we are looking at that. We know it was too late to try to get one this year, but I looked at the current salter they have on a truck up there. It's a poly tank, needs an 8-foot bed though, that's more the issue. But I think we could just replace the mechanical end of that unit instead of buying a whole new one. So, then you just have to come down here, we don't have a salt shed or anything to store, but it's still a lot better than them, they using bags, it's cheaper for them to come down here, go up to the park, where they have a front end loader, load it up and go back up there. Now they're using bags, it's more expensive, and, time consuming dumping the bags into the small spreader, so I think if we can get that bin repaired, or just replace the mechanical unit in the back of it, it'll save us a couple $1,000s at least. So I think we should just look at that for now, but we are looking at the possibility of purchasing another unit, solar.
Anything else under the maintenance report? Any other questions for Rodney? Work release report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Submitted to the board is the monthly work release report. Revenues for this time period were as follows: from board 700, court costs 100, inmate payments $1133.25, and an escrow $40. And also submitted is the monthly in-house report. If there are any questions on either of those, I'll certainly try to answer those questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Schuback? Okay, plan of action committee.
No report.
Alright, warden's report.
All right, this report is from the dates of January 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2024. We had 51 male admissions and 17 female admissions for a total of 68. We had 47 male releases, 20 female releases for a total of 67. The average daily population for that month was 144 inmates. As of the end of January, January 31st, 31st, we had 124 males in the prison, 20 females, for a total of 144. At the end of January, the year-to-date total intakes was 68. Also for that time period, we had 13 total transports, which are broken down there on the sheet.
Anything else? Any questions on the warden's report? Entertain a motion to accept the warden's report.
Motion to accept the warden's report.
Commissioner Nostine, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arner, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Executive session. I think we need to go into a brief executive session. I wanted to talk about what we were doing at litigation. So we'll adjourn into executive session.
Is it gonna require action?
No,
You wanna wait and do it at the end?
we could do that.
If it's not gonna require action, we could move it to the end if
We're gonna move that to the end. Okay. Personnel report. Everybody have a chance to review it?
Mike, I think I just wanted you to read it on the record,
Motion to approve.
We need what on the record?
personal report.
He wants me to read it onto the record.
Yeah, because it's an administrative correction.
All right, so before we approve that, personnel report from January 19, 2024 through February 21st, 2024. There's an administrative correction to the personnel report on October 20th, 2021, changing Joseph M. Corrali's employment separation to resignation. And it should be noted that the hiring of new candidates is contingent upon them successfully passing the drug screening, urinalysis, and psychological evaluation. Therefore, effective dates are tentative. With that being read in, is there a motion to approve the personnel report?
Motion to approve personnel report.
second.
Commissioner Franco, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Is there any new business?
You wanna cover the grant? Or new business?
So, I mean, I think everybody's aware that, we have that grant issue pending right now. I think the information is provided to Ellie. So ultimately, we're trying to figure out the HVAC units, the rooftop units, and how we can get them at least installed, by the grant required date. At this point in time, there doesn't appear to be any additional extensions that would be allowed, and I don't know what the status is as far as, whether or not that Omnia or that other federal process is applicable. But if that's gonna be done, I just need to know so I can make an amendment to the PCCD procurement end of it so that it matches up.
And I did send an email out, I think, was it yesterday? That somebody has to contact the commissioners. I mean, the commissioners make the decision on,
Sure.
like, what's going on there. And it's like, somebody gotta contact us, and if, is Omnia, I mean, Bob can explain a little bit better. If Omnia could be the person, we could go through them, you know, but they have to get documentation back to us that they actually have done this before. You know, that it shows that they've done it in the state of Pennsylvania. And let Bob, I mean, Bob can,
Yeah, what I need, what I'm looking for is a master contract, the existing cooperative contract with other governmental agencies. Otherwise, we can't do this as a purchasing cooperative. It has to be with another governmental entity. And I looked, I saw Omnia does have federal and state contracts, but we just need to know that that particular item is subject to an existing master contract that we can just kind of join in on.
And I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the only holdup. I'm not trying to be arbitrary here, but I just,
No, and for me, I wound up getting put on a conference call because it was kind of coming up quickly and the timing was important. And I don't know if Train is connected with Omnia. They were the ones that
they are a
specifically-
vendor, but I just don't know that they have this contract through
So, and again, that's something that I guess the commissioners and or you, if you contact this representative from Train,
Well, I don't think it's
Well,
really the
Matt-
train person, it's the Omnia. Isn't Omnia gonna make the contract and they will use Train as a vendor?
No, Omnia doesn't contract, they're just sort of the conduit.
But wasn't the thing about the train guy won't come out unless they're guaranteed the job, I thought? Wasn't that,
Well, that's
The
not
answer?
workable,
No,
that's
they
not
said
how
they-
that's
government
not-
works.
They said they'd come out and look at it.
or, yeah, are they
But-
gonna look
but
at
you
it and
gotta-
give
you
us an
gotta-
estimate?
You have to sign
there are three.
a letter, there's like a letter of intent, I think, just means that you're looking at the project and they'll come out for that. And then if you move forward, then it's a letter of commitment. Or something, it's,
So, and that's something I think that Bob and or the commissioners should talk to them directly about, because the particulars of that, I'm not familiar with. I know that what they wanted, their concern is they're gonna come out and then take their engineer and look at everything and spend all this time, energy and effort, and then you say, you don't wanna do this, and they're running around trying to get these units. I don't know how difficult that is. It's something that's, again, out of my bailiwick. I just got the funds for whatever it would be. And in fact, I think that the amount that we've requested per unit is below what it should be, and we may wind up needing less units. And again, I have to make that change. But I can tell you from, and again, I understand that the representative may be a sales representative as well, and there's issues that you wanna be concerned about, but I definitely get the idea that time is of the essence. If we wait too long, you'll lose that money, and then I don't know what else to do. I could try to move certain things around, but there's only a certain amount of leeway that I'm gonna be given with regards to this funding.
Okay, can I just, do they need a letter of intent or a letter of interest? Because those are two very different things. Because a letter of intent would be somewhat binding.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, why wouldn't they just
if
come
they-
out
if it's-
and
if
look
they need
at
a
it
letter of
and give us
interest,
an
yes,
estimate?
we would like for you to.
Like, I
come
mean,
out
it's a
here
couple
and give us
$100,000 sitting
Yeah.
there for them to get. Why should we give them any kind of a letter for them to just come out and look at it? You know,
Well, can I ask this, what options are there outside of them?
there is somebody coming to look at it on Friday. So I don't know why Train can't come out and look at it Friday, or whatever day they can. They could come out Monday, make the appointment. But I think they're making much a big deal out of it, that they need a letter
I mean, to
of
me-
intent, just come out and look at it and say it costs $300,000 for 5 units.
And I
whatever
would
it would
assume
be.
they could tell us, Train, Tremco, or whoever could say, oh, and we have this state contract, or this
Yes.
federal contract.
Yeah.
Here's the master contract that you can purchase this under. Otherwise, it is gonna have to be advertised for bid, so. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm.
To me, it's no, it's whatever company's willing to work with you within the guidelines of what the grant was written, then that's who you go with. If they wanna put up all the perimeters, we just don't deal with them. Deal with the company that wants to deal with the county.
The only thing is, and again, I would and I don't know much about HVAC systems other than the limited information I had gotten from a colleague friend of mine, but it just seems that whatever is decided needs to move quick. And I prefer, and I mentioned before, I don't wanna be necessarily involved in those discussions until you all decide what you wanna do, and then whatever I have to do to make that, the information that's in PCCD match, I can do that. It's just, before then, it seems like I'd have to explain things to Bob, and then they're gonna go back and there may be questions, because I didn't know anything about what Omni even stood for, or what it was related to. I just get worried that if we don't move quickly, and I think you're saying the same thing, it's just, we need to,
Well, yeah, there could be some business practices there that they work with each other or whatnot, and that's their business practice, but we have to worry about the taxpayer, so.
100%.
The reality of the situation is whoever's gonna work with the taxpayer and in our guidelines we'll work with. If they have allegiance to other people, then the county may have to do the same.
Right.
I talked to Paul a little bit about this last week. There's a lot of moving parts with this. It's a lot of money, and Paul's end in obtaining the funds, I think, stops with his role. So in order to meet the deadlines, answer the questions, and properly manage these funds, I would recommend or suggest that we form an ad hoc committee specifically for the management of this grant to make sure that all that stuff is met. I think you should have somebody looking at finances. I think Derek or the warden in terms of the physical space there that's being proposed, and Rodney, because he knows that facility in and out. Minimally, I think those three, and the commissioner's gonna have to approve stuff. So you know, probably should have at least one of you on that. And then that way, we can make sure we're hitting the deadlines, answering the questions, and making sure that the grant is managed properly within the timeframes that it needs to be managed.
Well, I think, and I agree with you, I agree with you, Sheriff, I think that's, but my question is, right now, those, that, in order to meet that deadline, those air conditioning units have to be bought, paid for, and completed by when?
I think it's,
July?
July 31st.
So you gotta, I mean, the committee's gotta pull together quickly, and I think some of these questions, now maybe that Paul has some more information, could pull that out of the grant. Maybe it just takes reviewing the granting. I don't know. But in terms of all of those other things with financing, physical plant, maintenance, you just got the grant, Paul. So I think you did your piece, and now it's the management of the rest of it, so we don't lose that money.
right, I don't mind helping along, it's just, I think that like, when that meeting was going on, I definitely felt a little uneasy about them asking me to, and I'm like, I can't sign up for anything, you know? I'm just here to kind of figure out what's going on, and Omnia was a new term to me. So that's why I initially suggested that Bob at least speak to this person, just because he can determine whether or not it's a federal.
The way it was represented to me was that like CoStar is like our state
Right.
programming, and the Omni is more of a federal type, similar to CoStar.
And
Okay, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we rather, I mean, we can go round here and it's just, we're wasting more time, not to be thing, but let's get it, take the sheriff's advice and get a couple people who wanna sit down and work through this.
So I guess I would make a motion to form the
Okay, well, let's take
grant
some volunteers.
implementation committee.
We'll take some volunteers and then we'll make the motion
But
and
the
make
first
that.
thing is to get Train out. Does Train wanna do it or don't they wanna do it? You know what I mean? Like they're throwing stipulations out
Well-
and we got money that we can use up. They should come out and look at this. Why are we making an ad hoc committee when they should come out? If they don't wanna, the company that's coming out on Friday, if Train don't want it, then the other company's just gonna get it.
There's
You know what I
other,
mean?
Well, yeah,
I know there's
I-
a lot of other things.
but there's other
But
things.
this is something that has to be done. This is, you know, it's not like buying a shed or buying something else. This is a lot of moving parts here. They have to have labor involved in it. They have to have a crane coming in. There's things that have to be done here. It isn't like we're going out and buying 10,000 masks or a shed to put the mask in. This is something a little bit different. And if this company, I just contacted them, in fact, Monday, I talked to the company, they're coming out Friday to look at it. Why can't Train do that? I don't get it. They're in our building, it's their parts, why wouldn't you come out? We wanna
Every
replace it.
unit on the roof is a trained unit.
That's what I'm saying, like, why wouldn't they come out and do it? I just don't get that. Why would we have to sign something for them to come out just to look at it? I think I sent you the numbers. I sent what the serial numbers of the unit, you know, and what's there on the roof, and the picture of what it looks like. They should be able to look at it and say, okay, and they should know what units they are.
Right.
So what would be the big deal for them to give us a quote?
did anybody talk to them?
Well, Ronnie was, I think, but
Yeah.
nobody contacted the
Okay,
county.
so that's what I'm saying, somebody has to spearhead this or we're gonna lose
Yeah,
this.
I don't, whatever, if you
So I
wanna
mean, if
do
you
that.
just wanna handle the air conditioning and then still put this committee together moving forward.
Well, they can do that,
I'm fine with
but the
that, but-
number one priority gotta be that
Right.
HVAC, that's 2/3 of the grant.
Right.
But yes, that's the critical piece, but I don't think all of the other stuff has to wait
Right.
until that's handled.
No, it doesn't.
You can do other
But I mean,
things.
what I'm saying is, if Rocky wants to continue moving
No,
forward
let
with
them
that,
take care of that.
okay, as long as you're, yeah.
I'm comfortable with that, but the number one priority of this committee, ad hoc committee, gotta be to get that done. That's 2/3 of it.
The only thing I was gonna suggest is that whenever, if there's another, I'd recommend that there be another meeting set up with this representative from Train, with the commissioner on there, and whomever else you might think be appropriate,
No, I
Bob,
think my-
so you can understand what
I
they're
get what I
really.
said, they want the job, let them come out and look at it, and let the ad hoc committee take care of it, that's fine. But let's get going on it, we can't have a meeting next week, and then another one the following week, next thing it's June.
I agree.
I'm dealing with that over at the courthouse right now, so I'm not dealing with this again up at the prison.
Alright, then what we'll do with this is the chair will create an ad hoc commission called the, what are we gonna call this? Grant Implementation Committee. And we'll put on it from financial end, Kayla. We got, who else? We got Rodney,
I think Rodney needs to be on there,
Derek,
and one of the commissioners,
one of you gentlemen wanna be on it.
or just advise you, I mean, whatever you
I
guys
would wanna
think you
keep you
need.
in the loop because there's
I'll
time
gladly-
periods and then
I'll
you might
gladly-
need to work with the
What you
solicitor.
wanna do is voice.
I have enough on my plate.
You will all do.
I'll gladly.
Alright. So, look, and so, Commissioner
If you
Franco.
take over 3 of my committees, you can do it.
So do we wanna assign a chair of that to schedule and oversee the meetings and moving things along?
Which one of you wanna be the chair?
Don't all jump at once.
I think the financial person would be very good at it.
You got your first to say. Thanks for helping us.
You should have stayed on another day.
Are you willing?
Right?
Could put a judge on it.
Yeah, that's right, I nominate Roger, no.
That's what you get for being so quiet.
Alright,
So the other piece of this grant, I believe we talked about it the last time, was reimbursement for COVID funds that we had spent. I believe receipts had to be submitted. I don't know what the amount is that was submitted. I believe that capped off at $20,000. And I had suggested the last time, because there was no specifics on how that 20,000 or whatever that amount is needed to be spent, we have a need for that pole barn. So is there, or how do we go about potentially isolating that reimbursement money for that purpose? I don't know what it costs. Rocky, you may have looked into that in the past with the pole barn prices, but if we're able to at least put that in as a starter fund, then it saves money in the long run to having to do that. Cause you know, you're talking about salt storage, other storage that goes into that pole barn.
Isn't that all part of this, is that also part of the grant?
It is.
Okay, so then I think we have an ad hoc committee that Rocky just said, put all of that together and we'll come back with a presentation on that.
Don't forget
But I
that
bring it
whole
up
building
for-
gotta be COVID related.
Well, no, my understanding is those funds are for COVID reimbursement, that you show what you spent, but once you get that money,
Right.
there's no restriction on how it gets spent.
Yeah,
That's correct.
right.
So there's $20,000, that's for the PPE that I'm supposed to, I think we'll be able to get those invoices, pretty, together pretty quickly from what I'm told, because I think it might be $20,000 worth of gloves. $20,000 is also for
What's the time frame?
ASAP.
No, I mean,
Right.
from the
Oh,
first date to the last date that the money
I'll
was
give you the
spent.
date on the grant, but it was 2022.
Yeah, was it September?
I think it might have been
So
August.
anything
I think
PPE
it was
related
August.
from August of 22 until,
And I actually said, if they're broken down, I wound up putting the quarters, because I'm supposed to list the quarters. So if they can be just listed, okay, we bought all this then. And if all of it's eaten up, the 20,000 in the first 2 quarters, there's no issue, then we can leave it at that. The other $20,000 is for a storage facility, and then there's, I forget how much it is, but there's 6 units for the polycoms, which I think 2 are already bought, that are for the courthouse, that we can get the reimbursement for, and then the other 3 are for the jail, and 1 is for my office.
So if the committee is gonna oversee this, I would suggest that you be thinking about isolating that reimbursement fund. And I also think that if we get that shed for $20,000, and you know in advance you're gonna put a pole building up and probably need a pad, use the money for the shed to do the pad, because you could move the shed and put the pole barn right on there and work use those two funding streams together would be
Yeah.
a way to do it.
The only concern I have with that is when I talked to the people at PCCD, one of the things they told me is that they precluded any kind of construction. And that's why they specifically told me that you can get a storage unit, not to build the unit itself, to get a unit. So I'm just concerned that even though you're getting that money, that you might have to use maybe some of that $20,000 for the pad. I can check with them if that's what you want me to do, and maybe if it's 5,000 for the pad and 15,000 for the unit, maybe I can do that, but they were reluctant to do the construction end of it. And I think, again, you're still gonna be in that same position in my mind, that it's gonna need to be completed, and I don't know. With the weather, you should be fine, because it's the end of July, so.
I think what you're gonna need is the, for this committee, is a copy of the grant and what you submitted and what was approved. So that as the committee's trying to administer it, they know what the guidelines that were set forth by the grant writer.
I did put, I provided, I think the full copy, Ellie has it, but I can get another copy from.
Right, if you could see to it that we have that.
Sure.
It goes to whoever Mike puts all up
But
together on that
if
committee.
if we have everything, say if they come up with $20,000 or $25,000 worth of things that are reimbursable, that's money that we already spent.
Yep, you get that.
So if we wanna do a pole building or whatever in June, we can use that money for that. That isn't,
can
you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we have enough there, we can use that money for what we want.
Correct, you can spend it in
Afterwards.
August,
Exactly.
September, October,
So
whenever.
if we could come
As
up
long
with,
as it's-
you know what I mean, dollars of 25,000 with what we spent, you know, masks, anything.
It's-
Lysol, whatever you did that was COVID related.
Right now, it's capped at 20,
Okay,
but I probably can make a request to modify the budget item. But again, I need to know if that's what you're looking to do and what number. The issue is, we have the $577,354, whatever it is. And we just have to make sure that right now, all of the line items fit within those criteria. So, and I think the 20,000, there was a reason that we put 20,000, because I spoke to Ellie about it, and that's why we came up with that number. But if it can be adjusted, that's fine.
and was there anything done like COVID related, what we did?
I said PPE though, there have to be PPE supplies, so, but I think if there
Well-
are $20,000 worth of
Well, I
gloves.
don't know if there's that, but I mean, we do go through a lot of gloves.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we got gloves,
Gloves,
masks.
we had got
Like I said, I don't
masks.
know, like if you get your own Lysol and things like that for cleaning up there, you
I
know.
went through all those bills at one time before, remember, and we had a
Yeah, I have the stack,
Yeah.
right, but nothing personal, I have other things, I didn't wanna take that stack, I still have it, I have it in an envelope, kept it, I didn't go through it and branch it out into the different criteria, cause you made copies for me.
Yeah,
I have all that stuff, but I didn't itemize that.
dissect it.
That's what, I said, you guys do that.
Alright.
So then what I'm hearing is of the $20,000, most of that is earmarked toward PPE supplies and
Reimbursement.
reimbursement and a unit to store said supplies in.
Those are two separate things.
They're two separate, 20,000 and 20,000, a total of 40. 20,000 for the PPE, 20,000 for the storage unit.
Okay, because that pretty much limits.
Well, we can easily get a storage unit for $20,000, right? That other 20 for the reimbursed PPE stuff, I'm suggesting that gets earmarked for the pole building or
Yeah,
something similar
cause
to
you
that.
need something else up there, even just like, instead of just having the pole building, it says, have a shed. I mean, we just got that thing for the dog shelter for $10,000, like a big, you know, a 12 by 24 building that maybe you needed to keep your other supplies or something in. I mean, we could do something like that, that's smaller, and then use this money that we've already paid towards a pole building. And I thought, didn't we get a price on a pole building, just a raw one, it was like 20, wasn't it around 20?
Something like that, I know,
It's like
they
20
make
or
like the steel,
24,000 or
those like
something.
steel structures too that
Yeah.
are.
So we do that, we, you know, if we have that money, maybe we only have to put another $10,000 to it to do the pole building itself. But I think the big thing is, make sure we can total all the Lysol and gloves. I mean, I can't imagine how many gloves you go through.
Where's all that gets stored now? Is there a storage area there now for this?
I got stuff stored in the garage, I got stuff, there's an outdoor closet that I mean, we're pretty much maxed up with any storage. I got stuff stored in mechanical rooms, I mean, it's all over the place.
And even stuff like that, even if you have, like, if you have the shed that's gonna be for salt and other stuff, this little shed that we have at 12 by 20, you could put your lawn mowers in there, you know, any of your weed whackers, everything like that, to get them out of, you know, at least get them out of wherever you have them now.
And does that have to
No.
fit within the footprint of the prison?
It didn't specify, it just indicated, I indicated a storage unit for the PPE, theoretically, the PPE supplies.
Yeah.
So
I thought
you
we
could-
were looking at the area inside the gate where that trailer is that's gotta go.
Yeah,
That was
that
gonna
true,
be for
yeah.
all of that,
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not 100%.
Okay, we'll get your stuff
And
together.
it's far enough from the fence, you can put both of them alongside each other, just so they can't hop on them and jump over the fence.
Or worst case, we
Receipts
keep that
for those-
razor wire
those
on the
things
back
or
of
that-
the structure.
What did I say?
Those paint guns that you.
Oh, yeah, well, we do have that, and I don't, yeah, but you know what, them are pretty, oh, you know what, though, some of them we got through $1,000 already.
Alright,
Yeah, I
Alright.
I don't think we can,
no,
You know.
they were a nice budget item.
yeah, they were, yeah, that was a lot of money too.
Alright. Anything else? So we formed the grant implementation ad hoc committee. Alright, anything else under new business? Any old business? Correspondence? Solicitor's report?
No report.
When did you ever have one?
I don't know why it's on there.
Until it disappears, I'm gonna call it every time. Any further business? We're gonna go into executive session then.
You don't need any action on anything?
No, not coming out of the, it's just updates.
Okay, you could adjourn this meeting if you wish.
I'd like to come back on it and say what we went in for, but if you want me to do it that
Well,
way,
you can
otherwise
report it next.
we can announce it at the next meeting. We're not taking any action. We'll announce prior to going, we're doing it's a litigation and a medical issue with HIPAA regarding one of the inmates, and